My name is Lydia Hale, I'm 31, and I've always been the youngest, the quiet one, the one people talk around instead of to. My family, the Hales of Beacon Hill, are old money with polished smiles and colder secrets. My sister Verity was the golden one who always drew the light while I stayed in the shadows, clutching second-hand victories and my husband's hand like a life raft. I never minded being overlooked, until the day I realized they had been counting on it. Because 3 days after I buried my husband, Verity stood in front of a birthday cake, held up a piece of paper, and said my house belonged to her now. And that was the moment I stopped being quiet. The air smelled like buttercream frosting and betrayal. Verity stood by the balloon arch, raising her glass like it was a wedding toast. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate Leo's first birthday," she said sweetly. "Before we cut the cake, I have something important to share." I was half expecting a gender reveal. Instead, she pulled a folded piece of paper from her handbag, smoothed it on the cake table, and announced, "My son Leo is the biological child of Cyrus Hale, and as per his will, we're entitled to 50% of Lydia's estate, including the house on Mariner's Row." Silence. Then murmurs. Then a fork clinked off a plate.
She didn't look at me.
She looked through me. "That's a lie," I said. But my voice came out small, buried under the weight of half-smiles and widened eyes. Verity turned, almost amused. "Cyrus acknowledged Leo in this will. You didn't know about the update?" She tapped the document with one French-tipped nail. "Guess not everything was meant for your eyes." I didn't blink. I didn't breathe. My brain clicked into procedural mode. Lawyer.
File.
Last will. Witnesses.
Court.
This wasn't how it worked. A document handed out over sheet cake didn't hold up in court. But it wasn't about court, not yet. This was about control. She dropped a social bomb, not a legal one. My phone buzzed. A text from Elias Wren, our family's attorney. "That isn't the version on file. Meet me first thing." Verity was still smiling. I noticed the way her fingers gripped the edge of the table just a second too long. Like she wasn't as calm as she wanted to be. People started whispering. Aunt Regina looked away. Uncle James coughed and changed the subject to the Red Sox. I stood there, rooted, not because I didn't know what to say, but because I was choosing my weapon. "Lydia, you okay?" Cassie, my cousin, slid next to me, wine glass in hand, concern barely veiled. "I'm fine," I said.
Lie.
Cassie's whisper came low. Verity said something like this was coming. I didn't believe her. "She said it when?" "2 weeks ago. Said you'd overstayed your welcome." "Welcome? In my own house?" I scanned the room, instinct flaring. Something wasn't right. Verity had planned this. The timing.
The guests.
The paper. It was a trap dressed like a toast. Verity finally looked at me, eyes glittering. "Oh, and we'll need to discuss moving logistics. Shared ownership means shared access. Unless you'd rather sell." I stepped forward. "Touch my house and I'll burn it to the ground with you inside." Murmurs turned into gasps. The baby started crying. A party balloon popped. Verity blinked once, then whispered, "That temper. No wonder he looked elsewhere." I almost hit her. Almost. Instead, I smiled and walked away. I barely made it to the car before my hands started shaking. I clicked the voice memo app. Note to self. Request official will file from Elias. Call Detective Beck. And for the love of God, change the security system. Back at home, the silence rang louder than any scream. The portrait of Cyrus hung above the mantel, like a ghost still judging my restraint. "You were always 10 steps ahead, Cy. If you knew this was coming, why the hell didn't you warn me?" I pulled open his desk drawer. Empty. That wasn't right. Cyrus never left it empty. Not the drawer. Not his passwords. Not me. He once said to me, "If they ever try to take what's mine, make damn sure they know it wasn't free." Then I saw it, tucked inside the back of the drawer. A crumpled sticky note. Half torn, but still legible. "If she wants war, she just started it at a damn kid's party." The rain started before sunrise. Light at first. Then harder. It sounded like footsteps on the roof, like someone pacing. I hadn't slept. I was still wearing the same black slacks from the party. I hadn't even unzipped my boots. My inbox was already bloated when I sat at the desk in Cyrus's office. 34 unread. For subject lines with the word will. One with urgent. I opened the one from Elias Wren. Lydia, do not respond to Verity's document. Meet me 9 a.m. sharp. There are discrepancies. Discrepancies. That word again. Used by people who don't want to say fraud out loud. I grabbed my keys, locked the house behind me,
Double-checked.
once.
Twice.
Elias's office was on the 7th floor of a crumbling pre-war building off Tremont. Everything inside smelled like rusted metal and dry paper. He didn't greet me, just slid a manila folder across the desk. That's the version filed officially with probate court. Signed, sealed, time-stamped. 3 months before the one Verity waved around. I stared at the signature.
Kairos hale.
Bold.
Clean.
Confident. Then he slid over the scanned version Verity had shown. Same name. Same date. But the signature? Just off. The ink bled. The loops were
Sloppy.
not him. You're thinking what I'm thinking, Elias said. I nodded. Forgery? Possibly. Or someone coached him through signing under stress. The difference is intent. And that matters in court. I flipped the page again. Same date. But this version had a codicil. A new clause. One that acknowledged Leo Hale as biological heir. I blinked. How does this even get processed? Elias shrugged. If someone submits it and claims to be the executor? If a court clerk doesn't double-check digital records? Mistakes happen. But this isn't a mistake. The blinds shook against the window frame. A gust. Or something more. Someone wants this pushed through fast, Elias said. I clenched my hands in my lap. Can we block it? We can challenge it. But we need leverage. That's when he reached into a drawer and pulled out a flash drive. No label. What is it? Security footage from your home system. From the office. The day before Cyrus died. I plugged it into his monitor. Silence. Then static. Then footage. Cyrus. At his desk. Looking tired. Thinner than I remembered. He opened the safe. Took out a folder. Then a shadow moved behind him. A figure. Barely visible. Female.
Short.
Blonde. Carrying a handbag. The camera cut out.
Just like that.
Elias leaned forward. That's Verity. I didn't breathe. Not for 10 whole seconds. She never told me she came over, I whispered. Start asking why. On the way home, I drove past Beacon General Hospital. Cyrus had hated that place. Said it smelled like defeat. A memory hit. Cyrus at the kitchen counter, flipping through paperwork. He was muttering to himself. I asked what was wrong. He said, ever feel like someone's writing your story without telling you the ending? I thought he meant the clinic. The IVF. Now I wasn't so sure. I pulled into my driveway. The lights in the study were off. But the curtain moved. No wind. I walked in slow. Keys between my fingers. The drawer in Cyrus's desk?
Still closed.
But the top layer of files had been disturbed. The blue folder he always kept on top gone. My heart pounded. The alarm light was green. No break-in alert. I walked the house.
Kitchen. Clear.
Guest bedroom. Empty. Back door locked. But the rug had shifted. Someone had been here. Had a key. And knew what to look for. I called Cassie. She told me you wouldn't take it well, Cassie said.
Who?
Verity. She said you'd probably crack. That you'd start blaming ghosts. She knew about the blue folder, I said. She was here before. Lydia. Maybe she's grieving too.
No.
She's staging. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stayed on the floor of the office, going through every drawer, every file. At 3:47 a.m., I found something.
A receipt.
Printed. Small font. Folded into a yellow envelope. Private lab diagnostics. DNA analysis request Cyrus Hale. Test requested. Paternity. Requested sample, Leo Hale. Date. August 17th, 2 days before Cyrus died. That wasn't proof, but it was something. And it was gone from every file folder, every digital trace. Except this one receipt. He was going to find out the truth. And someone made sure he never did. He didn't just die. He was erased. The house was too quiet. I stepped in with my keys drawn like a weapon, holding my breath. Something was off. The scent different. Not quite cologne. Not quite mold. Something chemical, faint but clinging. Kitchen. Untouched. Living room. Still. But the office? Drawer open. Not just open. Gutted. Files scattered. The floor bore scuff marks, sneaker soles, not mine. The flash drive Elias gave me?
Gone.
I backed out slowly, reached for my phone. No missed calls. No alerts from the security system. Whoever got in had access. The worst kind. The kind Cyrus warned about once, half joking. If someone ever wants something bad enough, locks don't stop them. People do. I wasn't people. Not yet. But I could be. I called Beck. Detective Raylan Beck. Boston PD. Homicide, now moonlighting on favors. Tell me something good, she said instead of hello. Someone was in my house. They took something. No forced entry. Just precision. You got a name? Maybe. But I've got proof someone was covering tracks. You sound breathless, Lydia. I sound awake. 10 minutes later, she was in my driveway, hair in a braid, raincoat half-zipped, flashlight already in hand. We walked through the house in silence. She scanned every room, then paused at the back door. No pry marks, she muttered. Someone picked it.
Or. She turned to me.
You ever give anyone a spare key? Cyrus had won. The contractor. My sister. My lawyer. Beck raised an eyebrow. Your sister? She was here 2 nights before the funeral. Said she needed to pick something up. I didn't ask. Beck stared out the window for a beat, then turned to me. Dead men don't fight for their property, Lydia. But you can. Later that night, I dug through Cyrus's password log. One sticky note remained taped under the desk. Old habit. Safe 5283.
Vault hale 1979.
I opened the vault in the closet. Inside, only one envelope. Cyrus's handwriting. To be opened only by L. My stomach clenched. My breath caught. Inside, one USB drive, one letter, and a photo. Cyrus, standing next to Verity. The timestamp read 2 days before his death. The same day the paternity test was requested. But the look on his face wasn't warmth. It was fear. I slid the USB into my laptop. Video file. Titled, If You're Watching This. The screen flickered. Then Cyrus.
Pale.
Eyes sunken. Lydia, he said. Voice calm.
Too calm.
If you're seeing this, something's gone wrong. Verity came to the house. Said Leo might be mine. I don't believe her. But I filed for the paternity test to be sure. A pause. His eyes scanned the camera, as if afraid someone was watching. She wasn't alone. Elias came with her. Said it was a family matter. Told me to update the will. I refused. He looked down. I think they're planning something. If I die, if this ends up in your hands, don't trust anything Verity shows you. Don't trust Elias. He leaned closer. I locked the real will. Lake house.
Floorboards.
You'll know where. Then static. Then black.
I said frozen.
My fingers numb. Not from cold. From knowing. He didn't just suspect them. He knew. I called Beck again. I've got something, I said. Good. Because I just ran Verity's old employment file. And she was fired for unauthorized medication orders. 1 patient died. Overdose. A pause. I whispered. What kind of meds? Neuromuscular blockers.
Rare.
Hard to trace. And if someone has a predisposed aneurysm. My throat closed. Cyrus. I checked the security cams again. Most of the feed was wiped, but one clip remained. Backyard. 2 nights ago. A figure. Hooded. Moving slow. Carrying a small case. Not Verity. Too tall. Different gait. Not familiar. Not family. The figure turned for 1 second. Enough to catch a flash of profile. It wasn't her. It wasn't Elias. And I didn't recognize them. But they knew exactly where to go. The cabinet. The files. The drive. That night, I locked every door twice. Gun under the pillow. I kept the lights on. Paranoia is just pattern recognition in high definition. Cyrus used to say, every lie has a scent. You just have to stop pretending it smells like perfume. Something reeked now. And it wasn't grief. If she wants my house, she'll have to bury me in it. The lake house was 2 hours north, tucked behind cedar trees and the kind of silence that swallows screams. Cyrus called it the place we go when the world stops making sense. I called it escape. Now it was evidence.
I parked under gray sky.
Dead leaves stuck to the windshield. The cold bit through my jacket as I stepped onto the gravel. The house looked smaller than I remembered. That's what grief does, shrinks everything that used to feel safe. Inside smelled like mildew and cedar and old coffee. Nothing had been touched. A thin layer of dust. Except the rug near the fireplace, slightly off-center. I knelt. Lifted the edge.
Creak.
The floorboard slid back with a groan. Underneath, a locked metal box, weathered but sealed. I pulled it free. Keys rattled inside. 2 envelopes. A flash drive. 1 letter. 1 set of keys. And a Glock 19. My breath caught. This wasn't just Cyrus leaving me truth. He was leaving me defense. I opened the letter. If they're coming for the house, they're not just after the deed. They're after what I found. The nonprofit was a shell. Elias set it up. Verity's name is on the board. Find the ledger. Find the money. Don't trust anyone.
C. Cut scene.
I was back in the car, heater on full blast, Cyrus's words echoing in my head. Don't trust anyone. Cassie called. She's spinning the press, Lydia. What press? She gave an exclusive to Boston Ledger. Claims you're emotionally unstable. Says you forged the paternity denial. I swallowed heat. Did she mention the DNA test?
No.
But they published Cyrus's will. The fake one. She gave them the forged copy? Front page.
Cut.
I sent the flash drive to Beck. Texted. You need to see this. It proves premeditation. Her reply came in seconds. I'm at the precinct. Meet me in 30. Elias Wren was waiting in my driveway when I got home. Black Range Rover. Charcoal suit. Smile like a vulture. You've been busy, he said. So have you. Breaking and entering isn't subtle. He stepped closer. You don't want to make this uglier than it is. I think you mean louder. He chuckled low. You think you have something, but you don't. The court won't touch unfiled video testimony. You want to fight, be my guest. But war has costs. I stepped forward, pulse in my throat. He named you. In writing. In video. You were in the house the day he died. He blinked. Then smiled. You're bluffing. Wanna bet your license? His face shifted. Just enough to see it. Fear. Buried under arrogance.
Cut.
He walked away. But I knew I'd drawn blood. Beacon Hill Courthouse. Basement parking. I slid into Beck's car. She plugged the flash into her laptop. Watched in silence. When Cyrus's face flickered on, her jaw clenched. At the end, she whispered, this wasn't just a mistake. This was structured. Timed. Can we get a warrant? Maybe. But I need leverage. Something they can't shred. I remembered the other names Cyrus left me. The nonprofit. I dug through city records that night. The nonprofit was called Hail Forward. Tax ID matched Elias's law firm address. The board listed Verity, Elias, and 2 shell names. The last ledger submitted? 2 months before Cyrus's death. Then silence.
No cloture failinos.
No tax forms. No board minutes. I cross-referenced the shell names. One led to a prescription pill distributor in Detroit. The other to a holding company in Bermuda. Escalation. This wasn't about paternity. This was laundering. Across state lines. With Cyrus's signature at the bottom. But it wasn't his handwriting. It was mine. A perfect match, forged from when I used to sign his holiday cards. That's when it hit me. They weren't just framing Cyrus. They were framing me. My phone buzzed again. Blocked number. I answered. A woman's voice. Cold. Precise. If you release anything from that drive, Lydia, you won't just lose the house. You'll lose your name, your freedom, your life. The line went dead. I stared at the wall, stomach twisting. There's a moment in every war when the line between defense and attack disappears. This was mine. I was never the heir. I was the insurance policy. Morning hit like a slap.
No coffee, no make-up, no appetite.
Just adrenaline. I didn't bother changing. I drove straight to the storage unit Cyrus used to rent when we remodeled the Beacon Hill kitchen. Unit 42. Third floor. Hidden under a fake name, his mother's maiden. It was still active. Paid up through the year. The man at the desk didn't ask questions. He just slid me the clipboard, eyes on the security feed. Some men don't care what you're running from. They just don't want it spilled in their lobby. The key clicked. The door groaned open. Darkness.
Dust.
Silence. Until I flipped on the switch. Boxes. Labeled in his handwriting. But only one metal case in the back, newer.
Locked.
The keys from the lake house fit perfectly. Inside, a ledger. Real paper. Inked manually. Not digital. And a burner phone. Cracked but intact. The ledger was damning. Payments traced from Hale Forward to Shell LLCs. Funds rerouted through foreign accounts. Two names kept reappearing. Elias Wren. Verity Hale. And one final entry. If this vanishes, so do I. Cut to Beck's desk. Dim fluorescent lights. Coffee stain ringed on the counter. She read the ledger in silence. Her lips tight. Then she looked up. You realize what this means? They weren't just fighting over the house, I said. They were laundering through a nonprofit under Cyrus's name. She nodded. And the real kicker, this ledger? It matches a flagged pattern from a federal financial crime sweep. Ongoing. I'll need to make a call.
Who?
FBI. I flinched. She didn't. Lydia, if we're right, you've just walked into a racketeering case. Interstate fraud. Murder cover-up. Attempted asset seizure. I swallowed hard. I didn't walk into it. I was born into it. That night, I sat on the floor of my living room, flipping through the burner phone. One number saved. No name. Just an emoji, snake. Call log, short. But one recording, buried under file storage. I played it. Verity's voice. I'm not doing this. You said it'd be easy. You said he'd sign.
Pause.
Then a low male voice. Everything depends on that signature. Without it, the fallback's lethal. Lethal. My blood chilled. Verity again. I won't kill him. The man again. You won't have to.
Click.
Silence. I drove to the cemetery. Cyrus's grave sat under dead branches and damp leaves. I stared at the stone, fingers clenching the phone. You knew, I whispered. You knew they'd try this. And you let them get close enough to kill you. A gust of wind dragged my coat open. There's a difference between vengeance and justice. Vengeance wants blood. Justice wants the truth. And sometimes you have to go through one to reach the other. The next day, a letter arrived. No return address. Inside, a printed screenshot. A still from the security feed. Someone had followed me into the cemetery. In the background, blurred, hooded, watching from behind a tree. The message on the back? Grief makes you careless. Cameras don't. I sent the burner phone contents to Beck. She replied with a time and address. An industrial park, late night. Bring everything. quietly. When I arrived, 2 unmarked sedans waited. Beck stood outside, talking to someone with the DOJ badge. Inside, I handed over the drive, the ledger, the photo, and the audio clip. The DOJ agent, Monroe, didn't blink. This isn't just about forgery.
Or property, he said.
This is conspiracy, murder for hire, racketeering. And we don't arrest people like Elias Wren without leverage. We need more. More? I laughed, bitter. What's left? A smoking gun? He looked me in the eye. Sometimes the only way to catch a wolf is to offer blood. I left the office shaking. They wanted bait. They wanted me to walk straight into the trap. To a dinner, a meeting, a confrontation. Mic'd up. Alone. Cyrus's voice echoed in my head. Trust isn't given. It's tested. And if they fail, you burn the test paper. If they want a war for this house, I'm bringing the fire. The table was set for 3. Crystal glasses. Heavy silverware.
Not a fingerprint in sight.
I sat at the head, mic wired under my blouse, gun taped under the table's edge. The DOJ team was a mile out. Beck somewhere closer. The only rule: I couldn't flinch first. The lake house creaked. Wind howled like it remembered everything. Verity arrived first. Red lips. Black dress. Eyes too wide. I didn't know he recorded me, she said, sliding into the chair. You know that, right? Sure, I said. You didn't know a lot of things. Like the fact that the ledger traced back to you. Her smile cracked. I wasn't trying to hurt him, but you did. Then Elias walked in. Suit flawless.
Tie straight. Eyes dead.
Let's get to the point, he said. You mean motive? I leaned forward. Like fraud, forgery, premeditated poisoning? You have no proof, he said calmly. I have enough. He laughed, soft. You're bluffing again, Lydia. Like you always do. Then sit. He didn't. Instead, he stepped behind Verity. She was never built for this. You were. Which is why Cyrus trusted you too much. That's why you killed him. He paused. I didn't have to. People like Cyrus die all on their own. You just have to speed up what's already broken. I reached for the flash drive. Plugged it into the projector. Cyrus's face flickered to life. Verity gasped. Elias didn't move. You've heard this before, I said. But the court hasn't. Then the second file played. Not just Cyrus. Not just Verity. Elias's voice. Telling her the plan. Outlining the power of attorney. Listing where he'd move the money after. He moved fast. Came around the table. I reached under. Fingers on the Glock. But Beck burst in first. Weapon raised. Back up behind her. Don't move, Wren. Elias froze. Ms. Hale, step back, Beck barked. I stood. Verity Hale, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud and obstruction of justice. She didn't fight. She didn't cry. She just looked at me. You think you're better? She hissed. You think Cyrus loved you more? No, I said. But at least I didn't try to inherit him while he was still breathing. Cut to black. 3 weeks later. The house was quiet. Not empty. Just still. No more hidden mics. No more shadows in the windows. Just me. And a kind of grief that felt cleaner. The court validated the real will. The house was mine. The assets were cleared. The non-profit dismantled. But it wasn't about money anymore. Some inherit fortune. Some inherit war. I got both. I sat by the fireplace with the real ledger in my lap. Survival doesn't make you right, Cyrus once said. But it gives you the chance to become someone who is. He wasn't perfect. None of us were. But he tried to do the right thing, even when it cost him everything. That mattered. Later, I mailed copies of the file to a journalist.
Non da. Nostrines.
If I learned anything, it's this. Power doesn't corrupt. It reveals. Verity wanted recognition. Elias wanted control. I just wanted truth. Now I had it. And the world could burn if it wanted. He died for the truth. I lived to make it matter.